Peter, it's a great pleasure to catch up once again, our fortnightly catch up with what's happening at PGG Wrightson and of course what's happening in the livestock industry. Look, the weather is still a bit troubling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you look at Southland and the bottom half of the South Island really got hit pretty hard last week with cold and very wet weather. Obviously some lamb losses down there which haven't really been quantified yet, but then flip to the other end of the country and Northland's actually quite dry, quite a lot of concerns in Northland again, and also in the east coast of the North Island. People starting to get concerned about it getting dry. Haven't had a good rain there for probably 4 or 5 weeks at a time of the year when you'd expect to be getting moisture and the grass be growing. So yeah, I think people just a little bit nervous about what the weather might bring, and I suppose after last year's drought, people are, probably being cautious as well.
Can we be more prepared? I mean, is this anything we can do?
It's very hard to prepare more for it other than de-stock early, and we are seeing a bit of that in the East Coast. We had a big yarding of cattle at Storford Lodge on Wednesday this week, probably much bigger than you would expect for early October. But at the moment, we're lucky in that there is grass in other parts of the North Island, so plenty of grass in the Waikato, King Country, Manawatu, so there's buying power there going to buy that stock. But I just sense a nervousness when I talk to farmers. I talked to a big client on the East Coast one night last week, and they were quite nervous about just what the summer might bring. And understandably, Mark, when you think about how dry it was last year, and then the effects of meat companies having tight space because of COVID. So it's not. Just people are just cautious, I think, at the moment.
Of course, the other extreme, at the other end of the islands in Southland, they've had everything, haven't they, with the snow and flooding even this week?
Yeah, well, I mean, they were actually, before the rain, they were actually talking about being quite dry. So, they've had rain and snow and very cold weather. Late sort of snowstorms and late cold spell, which has obviously impacted on lambing as well. So, yeah, it's one thing we can't control, Mark, is the climate, and then. Talking to one of the guys from North Otago earlier today, and it's quite dry up there. So, I'll come back to my point before. People are being a bit cautious, I think, about what the season's going to bring.
Now, there's been some good news. The dairy auction was a positive this weekend. Of course, the performance of Fonterra in the last 10 days, they announced that they've turned the ship around somewhat.
Yeah, they have, and I think it's a credit to the team in Fonterra. They have turned the ship around. Yes, they've done it by sort of selling down some assets to reduce debt, etc. But they have, really focused back on milk price and milk payment to farmers. So what we are seeing is good returns to farmers. A $7 plus payout for the season just gone, and talking about a $6 something one for the coming season. So, that's good news for our dairy industry, and obviously dairy industry is pretty important for our overall economy. But it was good to see the global dairy auction the other night sort of firm and rising. There's a lot of that is driven off the milk powder, which is a commodity, which is sort of where the world's sitting at the moment. So those food service products may not be quite so much in demand, but the good quality commodities certainly are in good demand, which is good, just underpins our whole agricultural business in New Zealand.
As to the livestock and the sale yards and etc., what's the sort of pattern out there at the moment?
In the first quarter, we've just got our first quarterly results, just got in the last few days, and our first quarter's been very strong. We've seen much higher numbers than we expected, particularly cattle. A lot of cattle come through our business, both through the stockyards and direct to slaughter in the last 3 months, much higher numbers than we would normally expect this time of the year. But when you sort of do a bit of drilling down into it, a lot of that's been stock that's been carried through the winter and carried through largely, I think, because of the fact that the pressure on getting stuff slaughtered. Good start to the year, and I still sound of caution. The first lamb schedules announced for the new season are sort of the $8 plus mark, but as I said to someone yesterday, I still think that's the early season price won't necessarily be what the price will be in January and February.
And in general, I suppose with the election coming up, just a week away now, is the feeling positive?
I think farmers are come back to cautious that they're cautious optimism about their pricing and what their returns will be. But out in the field, there's still farmers do have some concerns about the compliance that they're being asked to deal with over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, I think that, as I come back to this cautious optimism about pricing, but maybe a few other things happening out there. And I think we shouldn't underestimate, how much of an effect that COVID has had on everyone in the country. We're living a different lifestyle now to what we did, 12 months ago. So I think we just need to be conscious of that, that's for sure.